Welcome back to Newsviews. I'm Tanya Babich. Joining me now is Republican candidate for DuPage County Sheriff, James Mendrick. Mendrick is a 22-year veteran of the DuPage County Sheriff's Department. He has held a variety of positions within the department and currently serves as the patrol commander. Mendrick says he would bring that experience to the job if he is elected sheriff. He joins me now. Good morning and welcome to Newsviews.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Well, you are certainly qualified for the job. You could easily maintain the status quo if you so chose, but what would you change about the department if you're elected to office?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that can be improved. There's three main issues in DuPage County. The first one, obviously, is the opioid crisis. Also, there's school violence, and then there's mental health, which seems to entwine all three. Mental health is probably the largest issue that we have in DuPage County. School violence is obviously attributable to mental health issues. The opioids, a lot of it is self-medicating to ease the pain of certain mental illnesses.
In your 20-plus years in the department, you feel like you've seen a marked increase in all three areas?
Absolutely. Yeah, nationwide too with school violence. I think it's very important to look at not only the enforcement, but the sociological issues. We know why most school shootings happen. A large majority of it's bullying or cyberbullying or some ostracization in the school environment. And we have to start looking at a competent school liaison officer that's trained in the sociological functions where they can identify symptoms of developmental disorders, mental illness, mental health issues, and start like even mentorship programs where you're using students to include people in school activities so they don't have that disconnect that causes them this anxiety in school.
How can you better equip deputies and officers with the department, not just in schools, but in their work in general? I mean, dealing with people who are suffering from mental health crises of some kind is something that I'm assuming that you see more often now.
Absolutely. It's increasing. A big thing for us is technology too. We need to start applying 21st century principles to 20th century issues. We have to start looking at enhancing our technology. We have a hard server room. We need to start replacing that and going to app-based cloud technology. With cloud technology, we could use tablets and phones. Even for school incidents, we could pipe any feed right from a camera to the school liaison cell phone. We could do push notifications to notify people of things in their community, burglaries, missing people, anything that's happening in your neighborhood. And we could also use that device to engage the community into taking photographs of what they see on an everyday basis and help us police your own areas.
Well, speaking of 21st century technology, what about the issue of body cams? How do you feel about implementing those in the department?
I think body cams can be a good thing, a good tool. The problem is there's a lot of good ideas out there, but fitting them in your budget can sometimes be a problem. And excuse me, the problem with body cams is that they are expensive. You need a lot of server space. You have to have a full-time redactor. You have to have a full-time FOIA officer. It adds on manpower to a state's attorney. There are a lot of residual fees that you're going to see. They're going to annualize. And right now, we're in a budget shortfall. We just lost headcount over budget. So to have body cams, we would actually have to reduce our headcount even further, have less cops on the street. So as I think they could be a good idea, I don't think they're practical as a budget item. I did the budget for six cycles. I'm the only candidate that's even seen our DuPage County budget. So I think it's very important to think of the dollars and cents before you jump into a technological advancement.
Well, you've talked about advances in technology that are cost-saving, for example, cloud technology as opposed to hard servers. Is that something that you would be interested in looking at long-term, even if it doesn't fit the budget presently?
Well, the beauty of this is if you lease that technology, so we own our server room. It's very expensive, and you have to have a team of people to work on it. Now, if you lease this technology, we could jump 20 years into the future and save taxpayer money simultaneously because you're a subscriber. And it also
apply to body cam technology, though?
I don't know of any leasing. The county board and the sheriff's office explored body cams last year, and all I could find was one grant that we would have had to match just for the equipment alone and nothing for any of the annualized fees that would carry it forward.
What about the opioid crisis? You say that's something that would be a priority for you. What changes would you implement within the department in order to better fight it?
Well, I think that there's a lot of moving parts. I don't think there is a war on drugs because all wars eventually end. This is an ongoing battle every day. And with a lot of causes, there have to be a multitude of solutions. There's diversionary programs where companies are starting to look into giving reward systems called like a Gold Star program. If you do voluntary drug testing, that you get help with tuition reimbursement, or getting into colleges, getting into jobs, even gift cards from stores to kind of de-glamorize drug use. Then there's an educational component. We could teach people signs of drugs with their kids, and if there is suspected drug use, everybody's got a smartphone these days. And if the parents have the plan, you can actually have like a keystroke mirror program to where you can know every keystroke that your kid's doing that would mirror onto your phone, so you know if something's going on. And then there's enforcement through like canines. With canines, I've been the canine commander for 14 years also. With canines, you know, if you employ canines and share them with the other municipalities, you get a lot of seizure money, and then you take, you know, bad guy money and supplant taxpayer money. It also brings in revenue.
All right. James Mendrick, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good morning and welcome to Newsviews. I'm Tanya Babbage. After more than 20 years, DuPage County is about to get a new sheriff because incumbent John Zaruba is retiring. Now, this morning we're talking with the two men who are fighting to replace him, Republican James Mendrick and Democrat Gregory Whalen. Whalen is currently a lieutenant with the Glencoe Department of Public Safety, which cross-trains its staff in all three public safety professions: law enforcement, fire, and emergency medical services. Whalen says if elected, he would have the ability to bring all public safety agencies together during major incidents. Gregory Whalen joins me now. Good morning and welcome to Newsviews.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So tell us, why do you want the job?
So, over my career, I had the opportunity to kind of, specialize in a whole bunch of different aspects. And when I moved to DuPage County, I kind of seen that, the county as a sheriff should be like a leadership role in all of, public safety. They're not just a law enforcement role, but they need to be able to communicate and liaison with all of public safety. And having the background that I have because of the cross training, I felt that I'd be a good candidate to step in and try to lead the sheriff's department to a new level.
Well, what is it about your qualifications that you think are unique? I mean, your opponent is also certainly very qualified.
Yeah, so I work up on the North Shore. We're cross-trained up there, and an opportunity that I've had there is, as I've worked there over the last 11 years, is I've had to able to be specialized in different elements. So I had the opportunity to spend 6 years on a multi-jurisdictional SWAT team, which responded to various communities throughout the whole Northern Illinois area. I spent time as a team leader on that team. I spent time as a team leader on the dive team, doing searches and rescues on the dive end of it. I've done fire arson investigations. So a whole kind of brings all the disciplines together, and a lot of times incidents cross disciplines, so we have to have a good working relationship and work together.
So other than working together, what would be your top priority if you were elected sheriff?
I think the biggest thing is over the last several years, I think law enforcement in general has kind of gone away from their being involved in their communities. So my biggest priority would be to start working to build partnerships within all of our communities, develop trust, and make sure people feel that we're working together to achieve common goals. Because in the end, law enforcement can't be everywhere. So we need the help of our communities, and we need to work together in order to keep everyone safe.
Talk to me a little bit about the opioid crisis in DuPage County. How bad is it, and what do you think you could do as sheriff to make things better?
So the opioid crisis, last year they said there was 95 deaths alone in DuPage County. It's a nationwide problem. It's not limited just to DuPage County. It doesn't really have any borders. But I think the approach for the opioid crisis needs to be a multifaceted approach. I think we need to bring in an education component, a social services component, and an enforcement component. And with our education component, we got to get out there and do some aggressive public education. We need to teach people the dangers of prescription opioids, because it's not just illegal opioids. We need to teach people how to properly dispose of them. And most importantly, I think we need to teach people to start recognizing early signs and symptoms that a friend or a family member may be starting to develop an addiction problem. So if we could catch it earlier, it may help. On the social services aspect, working a little bit closer with social services, bringing in like in-person referrals when the crisis is going on, when we respond to a call, because I think we're going to increase our chances of follow through if we bring someone in there on the social service crisis worker to work with someone who's suffering from an addiction problem or who's overdosed, so that maybe they continue to follow up. Because once the crisis for that day is over, I think a lot of people tend to say, maybe I got a handle on this on my own, I'll work on it. But maybe if they have that link early, they'll be more inclined to follow up. And then the last end of it is enforcement. And I think we need to, use the technology and tools available. I think canine teams are a great opportunity to help identify drugs, because you're not able to see them all the time, and their noses are better than ours. And then I also think we need to work on the elements of, addressing some prescription fraud and just working together with multi-jurisdictional teams to take some of these drugs off the street.
Briefly, you've been an advocate for greater transparency in the Sheriff's Department. How would you accomplish that?
I think a big way to accomplish transparency is to go to a body camera program. I believe the body camera programs show that the department is serious about accountability and transparency, that, it protects not only the public but also the officers. And I think bringing that all in together, working with the media, being transparent, talking and communicating with our residents will help increase that transparency. When you even talk about the budget, I think that's another thing. You go online, pull out the county budget, and to me, you see a very vague document. It doesn't really spell out where the Sheriff's Department is spending all the money. It shows some major line items. Further expanding that so that we could justify that, yes, public safety is an incredible cost that affects the budget, but this is how we're spending our money so that people could see it.
Gregory Whalen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.